All right, Ascension Parish leaders say they're finished with their part of cleanup efforts at the old LAlumina site, and now the state's taken over long-term oversight of the location. That's of July 31st, or rather the 1st of July. The parish president says local officials stepped in after neighbor complaints about red dust blowing onto their homes, cars, and property. Parish crews brought in dirt and used heavy equipment to cover more than 40 acres in the areas closest to those neighborhoods to try to keep the dust from getting into the air. Well, now LAlumina is expected to begin a permanent closure plan in the coming weeks, with the Louisiana Department of Environmental Quality watching over the work. The parish says it can provide extra soil if it is needed.